Let's talk about it. This is Susan Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien. And boy, have we got a great show for you this evening. We have some wonderful guests with us. We have our superintendent of Windham Public Schools. Thank you so much for being with us. And we also have the dual language program specialist, Beth Brene. And thank you so much, Tracy Youngberg and Beth, for being here today to talk about so many things going on in the Windham Public Schools. And I have to say, the very first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I saw in the Chronicle some wonderful awards that occurred for the Natchog School, and how proud I am to be representing this town and having such great things happening in the Windham Public School system.
Thank you for that kickoff and for the invitation to be here tonight. And yes, we'll start off with letting everyone know that Natchog Elementary School has been named as a Connecticut Association of Schools finalist for the coveted title of Elementary School of the Year. So there's a site visit scheduled at the beginning of March, and we hope that from that site visit the school is actually named an Elementary School of the Year under CAS. So we're very excited to have them just reach the finalist category. So thank you for bringing that up. And for tonight, I want to just let you know that we're hoping to share some information about our dual language program, about the new Parents' Bill of Rights, and about an update on Windham High School. And I brought with me our resident expert, as you mentioned, Beth Brene. She is the Director of Equity and Multilingual Education, or EAM, the EAM department in our central office. So she's going to be sharing lots of wonderful information about our programming.
Thank you so much for that. And I just want to say how proud I was to be working on making sure we have dual language systems recognized at the state level. We have had a wonderful program here in the Compañeros program, and it's been extended now through
Dos Rios.
Yeah, Dos Rios. And so, it's been very extended right through. And then it's also been recognized that students that have certain accomplishments with respect to dual language get recognized with respect to the credit. And then now we have the dual language Parents' Bill of Rights. So it's a wonderful thing that we passed last year, and I'm very excited about being able to talk about it. And I do want to say Katina Caban-Owen was supposed to be here today, a member of our Board of Education, but I'm sorry that you had a little injury, and I'm hoping that you feel better. And so we're thinking about you and sending you healing thoughts.
Absolutely.
I sent her a nice note, and I'm looking to have her on real soon on the show. We need some representation from the Board of Ed too.
Absolutely.
And the administration does a great job. And last time we had our assistant superintendent of schools on, he did a marvelous job on very short notice.
Mr. Weathers.
Mr. Weathers, he's great.
Kidding.
He's great. He's a very personable guy. He's did very, very well on the radio. He could have his own show, actually.
I tell him all the time it was the best decision I made when I took over as superintendent.
Well, wonderful. You don't say that to everybody.
I don't.
Well, you could. You are the fearless leader, and sometimes you have to be make sure that the staff is knows they're appreciated by you. Right, right. Beth's going. Yes. Okay. Anyway, great to have you back on the show, Tracy and Beth. Great to have you on. I've heard a lot about you and all you do for Windham Public Schools, and very impressed. And I tell you, I said it before. I'll say it again. There's nothing more important than education. Nothing. If I weren't a lawyer, I'd be a teacher. I think it's just so important. The only way to save the world and save our country is through education. We have to support our public schools.
It's never too late.
Yes, right. That's right. It's never too late. We're just gonna, I'm a product of the Britain Public Schools, and I'll tell you, I owe so much to my kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on teachers. I wasn't a great student, especially when they started assigning homework, because I wanted to be at the park playing ball all the time. And I said, "What's this homework stuff? I'm supposed to be out playing ball."
I believe that.
Yeah, you believe it, right?
We all believe
I'm not going to even follow up on that, but I'll tell you. Public schools, made me whatever I am today in a positive sense, along with my wonderful mother, my wife, and my daughter.
Well, you know what? I just want to follow up.
No, you're gonna interrupt me. Huh?
No,
I was done. I was actually done.
I would put a period.
I ended
in
a sentence.
Last remark.
I did put a period after that, but I was taking a breath to say something else. Your turn, Susan.
Thank you, Dennis.
That's probably all I'll say all night. We've got these two experts here.
No, that's
No. I just want people to know I'm here.
You are.
And I'm supportive of Wyndham Public Schools. And
Thank you
big
very
time,
much. We
big time.
appreciate that.
But I
Yeah,
did
love
want to
Wyndham
follow up
Public
on Beth Renee's remark. It's never too late, and I think that that's one of the things about education. I think that one of the things that we think about is that you go through you're right through to secondary school and post-secondary school perhaps, and or whatever you do when you finish high school, and then that's it. But it's not. It never ends. Education never ends, and the idea that, well, maybe it didn't work out at first, but maybe you need to just find a way to continue your education. So there's all kinds of things to think about when you think about education. But today we're going to think about dual language and how great it is for brain development, how great it is for understanding the English language if you have another language to learn. And it's just an amazing thing. I know when I took Latin, I understood English so much better. So anyway, tell us a little bit about the update on the Wyndham High School renovation, because I know that that's coming along, and there's a lot of good remarks about that too.
Sure. You want to jump into Wyndham High School first, or okay?
Oh,
So
well,
Wyndham High School, we just recently opened up the science labs, the science classrooms, which
Oh,
is really
really?
exciting. So they have an opportunity to sort of bring to life the science concepts that they're focused on up there. The students, I don't know when the last time you were there, but there's a brand new restaurant type kitchen that the culinary program is using regularly. In fact, if Representative Curry was able to come earlier in the week, we were going to have the students make him lunch, and you were going to be there as well with
Yes,
us,
I was,
Susan.
yes,
So
yes.
that's something we're using regularly. The actual kitchen where they serve the meals is going to have a soft opening, I think, at the end of next week. It is set up like a college dining hall. It's really beautiful.
Wonderful.
So we're excited about that. Our 2D and 3D art classrooms are open now, and we're moving in the final phase of this project. It should be over by December 2024. It's currently on time and on budget. So
That's
we're
amazing,
very
isn't it?
excited. Yeah.
And you have a wonderful chair of the building committee who I recruited.
Mr.
He was
Callahan.
the only person to do it. He
Yes.
is so qualified, and he's such a great guy, and he's doing a wonderful job. And I'm happy with the committee. I'm happy with the whole project. I'm happy with Susan contributed to it.
Yes.
And this is great. We need to move on to talking about dual language.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for the
All right.
reimbursement rate before we jump on to dual language. We-
We love that 95%
Quite
reimbursement.
appreciate-
Sweet
Every
talker.
so often I get a thank you for that,
Yes.
because every so often people say, well, how much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
And I say, well, we got a 95%
That's
reimbursement.
Incredible.
So it is. It never happens, but Senator Flexer and I, we were able to pull that off, and very, very. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And now on to the dual language program here at Beth Renee. Thank you
Okay.
for your work.
Sure,
Let's
no
hear some more.
I think I can make a transition out of this. Actually, there is a lot of cost efficiency in dual language education as compared to other forms of bilingual support. Our dual language programs are full classroom programs. So in terms of our two-way program and our one-way program, those are classroom teachers who are operating pre-K to 8 at this time. Compañeros, our two-way program, our 30-year program, operates preschool to grade 8. And Dos Rios is currently in grades K through 7 with more expansion into 7 next year.
Wonderful. And so this is great. As I mentioned in my initial remarks, the fact that we have successful students with their language programs, they are recognized now for that in their learning achievements. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. There's a greater possibility for our students who are in dual language education to earn additional recognitions as they continue, because dual language education allows students to stay in program beyond the time that they might be a classified English learner, for example. They can stay in that program for as long as we have it. So if we grew the program up through high school, for example, they could still remain in the program. The goals of dual language education are very different from a transitional program. Our transitional bilingual education program is meant for a very short amount of time or developmental amount of time to assist English learners in acquiring English and not really guaranteeing that we maintain their proficiency in their first language. Whereas in dual language education, we have the ultimate goals of developing proficiency at a high level in both languages and academic achievement in both languages. So content is taught in Spanish and English. And so as these students gain proficiency in both languages and academics, they continue on at a high level. When they reach the high school, they now have this opportunity in the state of Connecticut, for example, to earn a seal by literacy. And so students in grades 10, 11, 12 can take a specific type of test, or different tests actually are available to earn this seal of biliteracy upon graduation. Some of them achieve it before graduation, and then they get the recognition at graduation.
I would imagine that would help them with post-secondary education in multiple places.
Sure, I think a really neat thing that we're starting to see, even amongst some of our most recent recruits into the school system, are students who have the seal of biliteracy recognition now on their resumes. And so that's been a really a neat thing. For sure, employers are looking for students, in this time where we're looking for students who have bilingualism and biliteracy as a skill that is highly sought after. And so we're starting to see it now. We're seeing students grow up into adults, and they're carrying this accolade with them on their resume.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really excellent. And it really gives the school, other students probably who would love to also participate with the dual language program. I know that your chairman of the Board of Education, Lynn Ide, all three of her children all participated in the dual language program. And she's quite proud of their work and the fact that they came through with the dual language recognition and the fact that they have both languages now.
Absolutely. Not only Lynn Ide, but Mark Doyle as well. They both had children in the program, and that sort of can lead into one of the pieces, because our Compañeros program is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, so Beth can give you some information about that.
I'm hearing that maybe I should be bringing a citation.
Yes,
to
that
the
could
event.
be. So give her some details.
Yeah. We're Compañeros celebrates its 30th anniversary, and we're having it's this year, and we're having a big event on May 4th. We've reserved Gilson Square. We hope to invite quite a few, obviously, students and families, the schools. So really it's Wyndham Early Childhood Center, North Wyndham, and middle school will be featured. Students will be invited to, or grades will be invited to do some performances in the celebration. A big announcement for us has been that we have invited two pretty well-known Masters of Ceremony. We have Dr. Madeline Negron, who is the current superintendent of New Haven, but also a former principal here with us in Wyndham. Also a parent of a former Compañero student. She was also part of the Parent Advisory Council, and the other MC is Mark Doyle, a current board member. And so we've got them as a pair. And Mark also had students go through the program, was involved in its inception or at the early stages. So I just thought they were two great people to represent all of the history really that goes into this program. So we'll have a number of special guests. There are many directors that have contributed, many administrators, but many families and graduates who will be featured. And so that's something to look forward to for us.
So please join us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to stick it on my calendar right away. So that's a wonderful thing. It's, we're still in session on May 4th, so I'll have to probably.
Well, is it a weekend?
It sounds
Saturday.
like Saturday.
Well, we can do Saturdays.
Sure we
Most
can.
of the time.
Yeah, well, I mean.
I will be there. I'll represent the family if you can't make it. Okay? I know it's
a
not
Saturday at the end of session, they usually have a budget Saturday.
the same. Oh, I thought they had a softball game.
Sounds like a lot of fun to me.
I think I want to do your Compañeros thing with
That's
a
right.
citation.
No, you better be there for the budget session.
Well,
we need
we'll
you.
see.
We need
We'll
you.
see. We'll see what happens. Maybe
Wyndham
we'll do the
needs you.
budget sooner. We have a speaker who is highly organized, and I think he'll want to get through the budget quickly. So
Oh, yeah.
it
Matt
might
Ritter, yeah.
it might be bills, but nevertheless, you got to vote for all the bills.
We've
too.
invited food trucks if that helps change.
You could invite Matt Ritter too. Matt Ritter has done legal work for the system, school system. In fact, when I was the one that put the application through the town council for the improvements at Wyndham High School, massive improvements, and I worked with Matt Ritter on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's. You know what? You've given me an idea. We should invite the whole General Assembly, and then maybe we'll get the day off.
Whoa, I don't know about that, but it'd be nice to have Matt Ritter if you're
Matt
not
Ritter.
busy
Well,
with.
you got Jeff Curry.
Jeff Curry, of course.
We're going to have to get chairman of the education committee, and of course, we cannot forget our majority leader, Jason Rojas. So he also.
East Hartford, yeah.
Yeah. So it would be great. They're both from East Hartford, both Jeff Curry
And of course,
and
Senator Flexer,
Of course,
Yeah.
Senator Flexer. We must have
who
Senator
helped
Flexer.
get the 95% reimbursement rate.
Absolutely.
Of course,
Oh yes.
she took care of the Senate part.
Yeah, I'll bet you she'll
Yeah.
like some her little Rosie might.
Oh, Rosie, yeah. That's right.
Compañeros program, right?
Fantastic. So I remember when the Compañeros program started. I thought it was longer than 30 years, really, because John McGrath, who's my successor as the judge of probate, was on the Board of Education when that happened, and he was very proud of that.
Sure.
Yeah, he's still proud of it, I'm sure. So that's great. That's great. What a great idea to have to celebrate something like that. That's,
Feels a little like putting a wedding together, but we're
well,
it's a lot of planning.
yeah.
Yes, and,
We've done it. We've put events together.
We're excited.
You always worry. Oh, is anybody going to show up? You'll have a lot of
We'll
people
have
there.
a lot of people at this.
You'll have a big crowd.
Yeah, definitely not worried about attendance.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to springtime too.
Yeah, it's a great time of year to have something like
Yeah.
that just before the end of the school year too, but not at the end. So that's great before everybody goes off. But I just wanted to give us a little bit of a history on that because I think it started. Well, you said it started 30 years ago. So let's go back in time, and it was when I first was elected, the dual language program was just in the North Wyndham School. If you could just tell us how we got to expand that and make it so that it's all, now the students have the chance to continue this all the way through high school. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
We don't have the high school piece just yet. I mean, that would be a dream for us futuristically, I think.
Okay.
Right now we are pre-K-8. I won't go into all the minute details, but over the 30-year history, the Compañeros program has existed at various grade levels. And I'd say it's been most stable K through 5. And for a number of different reasons, it has expanded down to preschool and up to grade 8 and then back down again and then grown back up. But I would say we're in probably our most stable time historically in quite some years. Right now we have really good support. We have very strong staff, strong support inside the school district as well. And so we have been pretty stable in Compañeros' existence pre-K to 8. But I think what you're also talking about is we've added our one-way program. So the one-way program, Dos Rios, is specifically for English learners who are Spanish speakers. And what you're seeing right now is that Dos Rios reached grade 6 in full. And so now the two programs have come together and converged in the middle school. And when that happens, we've made one program. And actually some really great benefits come of that. One is that you have a kind of rebalancing of students with high proficiency in Spanish and English. It will now still be a two-way program in the middle school, meaning we have English speakers learning Spanish in addition to Spanish speakers learning English. The students, actually, one of our highlights that we brought tonight was that the students and parents in the spring of grade 6, they would have been grade 5 last year, were asked to propose a number of possible names for the middle grades program so that we give it its own sort of program identity. As these two programs come together and converge, we don't want to call the program by just one of those names. And so parents and students were asked to propose some names in the spring at what we call Charlas y Chocolate, which is like a parent advisory kind of meeting. And we held them at all of the elementary schools. And so we had, I think it was 22 names that were put forth. And students who are now in grade 6 were the ones that just recently voted on the name. And so they've decided on Compañeros Unidos. And Unidos, so it's like United. And so they've sort of preserved a part of one of the program names and still extended it. And it won by an overwhelming vote. So it feels pretty good to have a student selected or a student driven program name. And so that's just happened.
And it's going to give them such a sense of pride and to know that students that came up through this program helped name it. And it's just that participation is really a great thing for the students to feel like they have some ownership in these programs. And, I always stress the fact that not only is it great for brain development, it also is great because we have an international economy now. So it's not like it's just here. It's having the capacity for another language is something that helps people with our international economy. It helps grow the economy that we need to have. So it's a wonderful thing that is occurring with the dual language programs.
We just did a podcast actually recently with we have a podcast internally now and on our website, and we did an episode with Dr. Youngberg, and we highlighted not only like the fiscal and sort of economic advantages for students down the road of being bilingual and biliterate, but also, and I think this is really, really important to stress here in Windham, the cultural and family benefits that come with this, right? The majority of our students have some kind of bilingual profile when they enter our schools. They might be balanced bilinguals, they might be heritage learners, but along that entire continuum, many of our students come with exposure or really good proficiency in Spanish. And to have a dual language program that preserves that and also builds upon it and strengthens proficiency over time is sort of a phenomenal thing for our little community, which is really unique in the northeastern corner of Connecticut. And we even were talking about, one of the highlights is that students can talk to family members of different generations, and there is always a fear, I think, in many families of a loss of language over time. And in this program, students have a chance to maintain, right, something that they originally entered our schools with. And instead of transitioning them to English, this is not what this program does. This program really takes an asset that our students and families bring to our schools and maintains and develops it further. And that's something I think that we should be most proud of.
I agree with that completely, because really diversifying how we think about the world, how we think about different cultures, it makes everybody much more knowledgeable about how things can work, because we may create a different way of working for one group of people that have one type of language, and then other people have another way of having their development of their societies and communities. Understanding those things is really important for us to have good cultural interaction throughout the world. So it is an international thing, and it's something that, maybe we'll also kind of get connected with the UN at some point, because I think that when I took international law, I was really fascinated with the UN and how it works, and so it is. I think it's a great thing to really expand the vision for all these things, and it brings more economic development back to the town.
Absolutely.
I like the fact that this kind of thing will enhance family harmony with the younger generations, the old generations, especially now, because things change so fast now, faster than they ever have historically. And it's very easy for there to be a gap between grandparents like me, of my age, and younger children.
Sure.
And that's not easy. And if there's a language issue, and that makes it even harder.
Sure.
So I think this is wonderful for families to be more stable, in terms of getting along. I've always said, I talk about politics, I always say there's politics everywhere, even in families.
Yeah.
And there is family politics, and it's better if you can all communicate together and everybody understands what everybody else is trying to say. So that's my 2 cents.
Oh, that's a good 2 cents there, Dennis.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's always good to have somebody on the panel who is like every man and ask the kind of questions that somebody who really doesn't know much about the topic will ask. That's what I'm here for.
Well, that's why we do the radio show. We do the radio show so people can have an idea of what we're doing and how these things work. And also, another question about the program and how we're doing is are there other people trying to get their children into it? And what's the process for getting their children into the dual language programs?
Right, so Compañeros has always been a lottery-based program. It is still a lottery-based program. And that actually is one of the reasons why we also created Dos Rios, which is the other program for English learners. We wanted to be able to offer dual language education to more than just the number of seats that we have in the two-way program. And so Dos Rios really not only gives the option to families who are learning English to join in a very similar program. They're similar in all ways, except that in the one-way program, we don't have the English learners who are learning Spanish, right? The English dominant kids learning Spanish as a second language. So Compañeros is lottery-based. Dos Rios is really open to all students who qualify as identified English learners. And so that program will continue to expand with our population, which is why it now exists in all 4 elementary schools, K through 5, and at the middle school it is in its first full year in 6th grade, and we do have a class in 7th grade that was from Natchog, who was the first rising class last year.
And as the district has those conversations about the elementary consolidation project and what we hope to happen in the very near future, these programs will exist in that new space. They're not going away. It's part of who we are.
Exactly, and it's and I'm going to go right now to our sponsors, and we thank them very much for sponsoring our show. So this is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host Dennis O'Brien, and we will be right back with Tracy Youngberg, our superintendent of schools, and Beth Pranay, who is doing the dual language programs in the Wyndham Public School System. Welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest this evening. We have with us the superintendent of schools, Tracy Youngberg, and also we have Beth Pranay, who is the leader of the dual language programs here in the Wyndham Public School System. And so I just wanted to say this is great to have you here to tell our listeners all about how we are really doing great things for our students here in Wyndham, and how we're really a leader in Connecticut and a leader nationally in these issues.
Absolutely, and I just want to make a point of saying, Beth, as our Director of Equity and Multilingual Education, she won't say this, but she's definitely part of the reason why the program continues to be as strong as it is. She has a really strong department. She leads it very well. Has established a core set of goals to improve the department, and has been working really hard in support of our kiddos. So I just want to shout out to her. She has more information to share with you, but I know she won't recognize that she's part of why it is so strong right now.
Here's another sports analogy for you. I always believe that to be a great manager, you have to have great players.
Absolutely.
And I think Tracy Youngberg, our superintendent, understands that as well as anybody, including me.
And I think Beth Renee also is a softball player and understands this.
Here we go. You're going to set me up.
At the end of this, I hope we have a team.
Yes.
We have. Okay, Beth Renee is a former third baseman. Former?
Yeah, former.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not playing right now. Thanks,
Okay, Tracy Youngberg is a former first baseman, and all we need is a shortstop and a second baseman.
That's right. Get the infield together.
There was a woman from Connecticut, Joni Joyce, who's one of the famous all-time softball players in the world, who struck out Ted Williams in an exhibition game, and Ted Williams could not hit her at all. And she had a team, a pitcher, shortstop, first baseman, and catcher. That's all she had. Yeah. And she would just strike people out, and that's, anyway.
I think that, on that note, I just want to say that I think that having girls in sports and women in sports really is a great thing, and it's a great part of education, and it teaches people how to work together as a team. And that's what I think one of the things that I've been focused on. I'm too old to have had a school experience where I had team sports because we didn't do that. We didn't let females do much of anything except go to the class to learn to sew, which I could already do, or cook, and I can do that too. So I didn't need those things.
All right.
In any event, let's get back to dual language programs. Tell us some more about how this is working here, and how the kids can participate. The families are participating as well.
Sure. Right now we're in lottery season. So the Compañeros lottery is in full swing, and that will finish up towards the end of February and be announced in March. And so we're preparing. This is the time of year where we start preparing for the next year. We do this. This isn't like a new thing. This is every single year at this time. So parents, I think many in the community know the general time when things happen, but we try to advertise a lot.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Right, posting everywhere and getting radio ads out about the exact information to do with the lottery, because it is a very specific process you have to follow. You have to do an informational meeting, so to speak, and learn about it, because it does involve commitment from families, right? It's not just a commitment from the school district. Families have to know a bit about bilingualism, how second language acquisition works, how the dual language program functions, and the commitment is that you want your students to stay in this program as long as possible, because it does take a number of years to develop really strong language and academic proficiency in both languages. So that is a requirement. It's something that we talk to our families about very openly.
Just one thought about that, and one of the things that you hear about is the fact that what are we doing? I mean, this is historic stuff, and maybe we're not doing it as much now. But why are we starting teaching students a language when they're in high school instead of when they're young? Because the brain is so much better at learning a second language or multiple languages when they're little, as opposed to waiting till you get to high school when your language skills are somewhat hardened in how your brain works.
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about this a little earlier today or yesterday. It all blurs into one day, but we were talking a bit about, you don't really. So many school districts are kind of, or who cannot implement a bilingual education program or a dual language education program, are sort of stuck in this position of offering some bilingual supports to students, growing their English proficiency, and so the students suffer through language loss during their elementary and middle school years, and then comes high school when we ask them to then take a world language, which makes almost no sense. And here in Wyndham, with our population, it makes no sense at all why you wouldn't take advantage and offer families this route to maintaining a language they already have exposure to and some proficiency in, and continue it through the high school level where students can actually achieve a very high level of proficiency. So why would you sort of have it go away and then come back? So here we cannot afford that. It makes no sense whatsoever. Yes, and students learning it at an earlier age obviously is to their advantage.
Did you major in foreign language in college?
Actually, yeah, I double majored, but in English and French. So my heritage language is French.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah, my experience was that I started studying foreign languages in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I had Latin and then French.
Yep.
And I don't know, I would have taken Spanish if it were today, of course.
Yep.
But they were pushing Latin and French back then. And I agree with Susan. I think the Latin really helped me a lot to learn English. To
Right.
learn English, declension, and grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know much about English grammar at all until I took Latin. Because
Yeah.
Latin is a structured language. I don't know, they teach Latin anymore?
We're not teaching
Now it's
it
really a
currently.
dead language, right?
Yeah,
They used
it's
to say that in the
hard.
past.
It's very hard to find a Latin teacher.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, right,
Not
right.
all schools and districts will commit to it because it's hard to sustain.
Yeah, and you won't find too many parents who are clamoring for Latin education.
Sure.
Well, I just
Yeah.
want to say one thing about that because it's very disappointing that they don't teach Latin anymore. And that's not just because I'm old school. When we were in Germany, Dennis, you remember when we were in Germany and we went
I
to
remember,
see the
Susan.
mayor?
I was with you.
And
I'm
the
still-
Bad Soden mayor.
My mind
and
is
they
still
said
working
to,
well.
Bad Soden mayor. So I said I was all excited about being there because I was in the education committee and we were doing talking about how to integrate languages more. And so I said, well, what do you do in Germany? And he said, and he spoke wonderful English, by the way. He spoke French, English, German. He spoke everything, and he could.
Yeah.
But I said, well, what do you do? And he said, well, first of all, we start off, of course, with German, and then we go to Latin, and then we go to English, and then they can go to a third language after that. And it seemed like it made so much more sense than because they're Romance languages. If you're in Europe, you're going to have a better way of learning the other languages with a base of Latin. And so we'd have, I think, a step up if we took the Latin. But I don't know why we got rid of Latin. It doesn't make any sense to me because so many of our words are based in that area of language. And it's just another thing that has been taken away. And I won't go into all the things that have
I
been
have
taken
a
away.
response.
Please go right ahead.
I think there's so many things now that in the curriculum that are required that were not required back when I was in school, which is ancient history. But they can only fit so many. The day is only so long. The workday is only so long. Students are only there so long. You only have so much time. So it's very, very hard. I mean, in Europe, it's much more important, I think, for them to learn different languages because they're like states. Those nations are small, and a lot of people live near the border, and they will be exposed to more than one language just in daily living.
Yeah. The drivers for communication are
That's
right.
very, very well said. The drivers for communication are very strong. I think it's great, and I think we could learn a lot from them in terms of, as Susan suggests, in terms of how we approach foreign languages. For one thing, start younger, definitely.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had a question about the magnet school. Is the magnet school included? I don't think so.
Magnet School, within its operating plan, has they had a plan for world languages, and so they still offer Spanish as a world language.
Okay.
And they offer it K through 8.
Yeah.
So we have a teacher there who teaches Spanish. It's taught more like a special in their case,
Sure.
rather than a full bilingual program.
Oh, right,
It's-
right.
So it's not quite that. They used to have Mandarin there. So Mandarin and Spanish were both offered.
Yeah.
In my last stint in Wyndham, we put Mandarin in place, and so we had Mandarin in the middle school, high school, and Barrows for a particular number of years. And right
Wow.
now we're back to Spanish.
Senator Austin, who was the chair of the Appropriations Committee on the Senate side, right here in Sprague, was in the Army. And what was she specialist in? the Mandarin language.
Yeah,
She-
it's in high demand, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones
Yeah.
right now. Portuguese and ASL are other ones that have great interest.
Yeah,
at the
she was
moment,
assigned to the Presidio in California, where it's foreign language oriented.
Yeah, I did a year in China.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wonderful.
Before I wasn't planning to come back to the U.S. So it was like my career intention was to be an EFL teacher, English as a foreign language teacher abroad, and travel the world for my whole life. But things change. Yeah.
It's hard to stay away.
Yeah, it's hard. Connecticut's a.
That's
Connecticut is a great
it's a
place.
good economic
It is, like,
development.
Especially Wyndham,
Oh,
right?
I'm right back in my hometown
Wyndham.
area.
Yeah.
This is where I grew up next to. I grew up in Canterbury, and
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
so I ended up coming home. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right in the district.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Senate district, Flexers, Senator Flexers district. Anyway, you have some goals for the future. I mean, you talked about it to some extent, but like the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you have in mind? In terms of expanding.
There's always a wish list.
Yeah, there's always a wish list.
Sure,
and
sure.
The truth is around, language proficiency. You want it to grow and keep going as far as you can take it,
Yeah.
because it's not. If you don't practice, you lose it, right?
Right.
And we don't
You're
want
right.
students. That I think that we've been very clear in our commitment in recent years, and we don't want students to lose their proficiency.
Yeah.
And for certain, it's needed in the local community and global community. So I would say that, establishing, if we could expand dual language education minimally sort of into ninth grade, and I say ninth grade first because the certifications function through ninth grade.
Yeah.
So in terms of structural organization, that really helps.
Right.
But if we could extend it into the high school and maintain it at the high school level, that would be, I think, a huge win for our community. Not just for me and my programs, right, and my staff,
Yeah,
but
right, but-
really for the community and our
Yeah.
students.
You'd be more certain that the learning that was had in the earlier grades continued on throughout life.
Yeah, and not only like the students who entered in our lottery-based program, but our English learners who are benefiting from true dual language education. We have a lot of new arrivals that come to our high school,
Yep.
and they have certain sections that are supported really well. If we could offer them more bilingual sections of content area, teaching, that would be a great advantage for some of our students. Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many businesses in town that I am certain
Sure.
employ graduates of your bilingual program,
Mm-hmm.
no question. And I think they're in great demand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
For
great
sure.
it's a great way to break into the job market and to do very well with a career.
We just
No
celebrated.
question.
Just going to say we have actually. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you first. No,
No,
please.
You go ahead.
We were just talking before we started the show, actually, about some of our staff members who are graduates now of our own programs, and now are teachers in our programs.
Wonderful.
And that's just, when things come full circle, it's a nice internal celebration.
I'm glad you
And-
brought that up.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
great. That's great news.
Yep.
I think that Wyndham High had sent an awful lot of kids on to great careers in the
Absolutely.
world, not only here but in other places. But hopefully, we want them to stay here. But hey, people are going to go where they're going to go.
Yeah.
But your job is to prepare them for life.
Sure. Whippets.
Yeah, go Whippets is right. Absolutely.
You would say that. That's cool. How cool! How cool is
Very
that?
good, very good. So so you're focused on dual language, and we have as we mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show, the Parents' Bill of Rights with respect to the students making sure that people who have another language that isn't their home language actually are able to make sure that they have the right training and process involved. And I just wanted to know, this of course fits in beautifully with the Bill of Rights, but tell us a little bit about, how that works and how parents are informed about the Bill of Rights. And I'm very proud to have voted for this, and Representative Curry and everybody in the Education Committee pushed really hard for it, and it was something that, the legislature liked a lot, so.
Yeah, so the formal title is the Parents' Bill of Rights for English learners / multilingual learners.
Yep.
This document is a newer document, right? It was just voted into legislation.
Right.
But a form of it existed previously.
Yeah.
And it was through the work of multiple advocacy agencies and sort of a coalition of them that it really became part of the legislation. And so most of what is contained in this Bill of Rights is actually not new rights or new information, but it is summarized and sort of elevated. I like the word illuminated. It was our state English learner consultant uses the word illuminated. All of these rights are really captured in this new document in one place and very friendly language. And the legislation now requires that districts post it on their website and send it home to families. And so by creating a document like that all of the districts in Connecticut must post and translate and hand out, I think families can only become more aware of their rights. The kinds of things captured in the document are not only about programming or supports, but also rights to translation, rights to interpretation at meetings, rights to an orientation at the school in a language you best understand. And so many of the things that are bulleted or numbered in the document already existed in a number of other laws, like Plyler versus Doe and the Civil Rights Law. It's pretty much it's Title VI and it's ESSA Titles 3 and 1. So all of these different laws already existed, but parents don't necessarily have the information about bullet points and laws at their fingertips. And so to have it in this one document, I think it presents a great advantage. It does certainly put pressure, I think, on districts that maybe aren't as well prepared or who don't have such big populations and haven't been putting this information out as often. But in our case, I feel like we're very well prepared to put this information out.
Sure.
Because we've had large language programs for a long time. And so for me as a director of language programs, it really only helps me put out there what is important for families to know and what is important for our schools to be prepared to do.
Excellent. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this has got to be really important for new arrivals.
Mm-hmm.
And people who I don't know. I could ask you a question about and I'm sure you could answer it about the extent to which kids and parents coming from various places that they come from that where Spanish is their principal language, and of course Puerto Rico is one that's
mm-hmm.
not another country, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Are they learning English in their schools down there? Are they learning English in Mexico and other places like that? And how well are they prepared to even begin to understand this? If it isn't provided, if information about the program is not provided to them
mm-hmm.
in the language that they're accustomed to using.
Sure.
So that's why this is really important.
Right. I think this document, our interpretation services and translation. Also, we're really kind of blessed because our community is part of our school system, and so we have a number of internal staff members who provide this kind of service on a regular basis. And I'm not just so we're not just talking about like an at the ready language service that is through the phone or anything like that. We have a number of human beings that are available, and then we complement it with things like a service if we need it, or especially for languages that are lower in incidence. And so I don't know, I feel like we're prepared. Can we always build better structures and processes and strengthen everything that we offer? Absolutely. I think any district would say that.
It's true of almost anything.
Yeah. So
there's always room for improvement.
Right. So getting them the information is like you said, the critical piece. And I think we do a good job of that within our programs. And I think this Bill of Rights really makes the district strengthen its processes. Yeah.
How many openings do you have? I mean, how many students can you accommodate in these programs?
Right now we're about 750 students in our combined dual language programs.
Wow, that's great. I just want to we're down to our last couple of minutes, and this has been great. So I want to give each of you a chance to just give a little summary and talk about the application for the lottery for the dual language program coming up for next year.
Little plug for the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and now is the time, so don't wait.
Yeah.
If you or your family are interested in applying to lottery, you want to go to our website, and there are a number of pop-ups and things that direct you, as to where to go. You'll fill out application, you'll watch an informational session, and then your piece will be done. We have people in the office who check in with folks to make sure that that we've answered your questions, or if you leave a message, we can get back to you. And so the process, I think, itself is fine if you contact us through our webpage.
And it's a Wyndham Public School webpage.
Yep.
You just go to Wyndham Public Schools and you'll see the lottery.
The lottery advertised right away. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I want to just thank both of you. I want to thank our superintendent of schools, Tracy Youngberg, and also Beth Brene, who's in charge of the English language learning programs that we have, our dual language program, which is way far superior to most anywhere else in the state. And
the whole world.
Like the sounds of that. The world.
Yeah.
Far superior.
Thank you for your amazing work.
As far as I know.
And the great things that you do for the students here at the Whitman Public Schools.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to have you both here today. Hope you'll come back soon. It's really, we really love to have people from Wyndham Public Schools on the air. And I think it's important for the community to know as much as they possibly can about what's going on. Not only the younger folks, but even the old folks like me.
We'll keep coming back if you keep inviting us.
We will.
do
We
that.
will.
Great
You
opportunity.
have pretty much an open invitation.
Oh, sounds good.
As long as we don't have a booking already set up.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is Dennis O'Brien with Susan Johnson. We've been talking to Tracy Youngberg, our wonderful superintendent of schools within the public schools, and Beth
Brene.
Beth Brene, who is
She's the,
wow, she
the
was
director of equity and multilingual education.
and the star of today's
And
show.
the absolute
With
star.
all due respect to everybody else.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be back next week with another great show.